Okay. Alrighty, let's see if this one's gonna work. This is a different program. Okay. So far so good, I guess. Okay. Hello and welcome to stream. Today, we're going to do chapter 4 cover. First thing I need to do though is get the link for the stream. Because how else am I going to share the masterpiece known as a terrible stream, right? Okay. Sadly, I do not have the info that I had. Well, not info, but like yesterday I attended Gigi's stream, her tutorial stream to draw Sonic, and I tested out the whole head thing and bean-shaped body. So also warning, quality might be terrible for this one, but we're going to try. That accent, mate. Well, I'm sorry, you know. So again, I apologize for the poor quality. It's because Streamlabs is being a doo-doo head. So we're gonna work with what we have for now. So it's been a little while since I've drawn on my main computer because I have a Surface now, and that's how I finished the pages for chapter 3. Yeah, chapter 3. Lavi, in this live stream, how's everyone doing today? So far, okay, for the most part. I'm gonna change the music, so warning, it might not be age appropriate. Hopefully YouTube does not kill me on this one. We are going to pick this one. We're going to first do a thumbnail. So, let me open the previous chapter's cover, because sometimes I have to work off on it. Okay. So with chapter 3's cover, I kind of gave away the whole Aster's gonna die thing within the cover. Because if you know what type of flower is on the main cover of chapter 3 that is slowly dying, you know it is an Aster flower. And as you can see, it's dying. I'm still broken up about what happened in chapter 3. I ate an entire container of ice cream afterwards. I was so done. I was so done with it. But now that I finished chapter 3, which is something I'm surprised I got through, we are going to now sketch up chapter 4's cover. as like a streaming thing. Now, the stream might last for an hour or two, depending how I feel, because I have refs I have to finish on my Surface, and I figured since the corrections thing is terrible somewhat on my Surface, we're going to do Chapter 4's cover first stream. So the first thing we're going to do is sketch up a thumbnail, which if Def was there for the entire thing of GG stream, you know thumbnails help figure out the things. And I'm gonna skip this song. Give me a second. So what we're going to do is basically do a thumbnail, a rough one. And as I've kind of spoiled within finishing Chapter 3, Chapter 4 is where finally Sonic and the gang come back. I do not like the ending of Chapter 3, how dare you, Lavi. No, this isn't an evil laugh, it's more of like I feel you kind of laugh because I was also in pain. But yeah, for the most part we're going to roughly sketch up a Chapter 4 cover, and I do apologize for what happened in Chapter 3, but I can't really apologize because I was planning that the entire time of Chapter 3. Like, I was dreading it, that's why some pages were super slow in finishing. Your voice has gotten more beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so I've also been thinking about doing like a character sheet of the TC characters, which also can include the main cast. But for the main part of what we're going to do right now, we're going to do rough thumbnails on separate small layers. We're gonna zoom in. But for the most part, we're gonna make some rough thumbnails. Generally, that way we figure out which one we're going to go with. And then we're going to work from there. So the previous Chapter 3 cover, you have feathers, which kind of signify the children of Ra, which were Veek and Sarai, because those two showed up. And then you have Ace's hands. Nowhere in point did I ever draw Rawl in the cover, because I wanted to kind of save it a little bit. But for the main part, Chapter 4, Rawl never comes back, you know that. He disappeared. If you want to know, if you want me to explain roughly what happened to him, I can try to. I just have to go through my Twitter account because I explained it before on post. So let me quickly like scroll back. That way, if you guys do want to know what happened, then yeah. Oh my god, is that stream cover of Evis or is it Sonic when he activates his powers? In case stream craps out, that is Hefus. I'm still broken up about the ending. I feel like my heart will ache any second because of the image. I'm so sorry, bro. But for the main part, we're going to do a rough thumbnail. So as we know, the main cast of characters are going to show up again. So this is not what it's going to look like, but we're gonna have a rough doodle. This way we can figure out oh, that's not gonna work. Now just know, this isn't officially what it's going to look like, because with With me watching Gigi stream, I'm starting to do bean bodies. Which honestly is kind of hopeful. I'm glad I was able to tune in for that stream. Also, I was prepared for the ending except for Rawls being got in Lavi's words. Yeah, I was planning for Aster to die, but have it like be kind of bittersweet in the sense of cause like here you have Aster dying, and believe me, I'm not trying to hurt anyone with the sense of it, but for the main part, I was planning on, cause like, I guess, cause I promised on Twitter I would explain kind of the Easter eggs of what would happen within chapter, cause I tend to do that. But in chapter 3, you have the cover is the first Easter egg of what's going to happen in the chapter, because if you figured out what type of flower it was, it's an aster flower, and the flower is decaying / dying. And that's the first kind of giveaway that Aster is going to die. The second part of Aster dying would be when Willow blocks the connection with Veek to hide her away. See where that got her. But the one thing that gives away Rawl's death, and it's pretty out in the face there, you can't miss it really, is when Ace says, "Dear, dear Rawl, you won't be leaving there alive if that child of Ra has anything to say about it, but don't worry. Once I'm free, I'll bring you back, ha ha ha." I can neither confirm nor deny if Ace is actually going to follow through with that promise. But, in the main part, I'm trying to explain it without it being confusing, but, in the main thing of the chapter, those are mainly the Easter eggs of what you can tell when he's going to die. And before I continue doing thumbnails, I can quickly read my post of explaining how Rahl died that way. So I'm going to explain that. I'm going to read it first. That way, because I feel like some people are confused on how Rahl kind of disappears and why his eyes, like the white parts, change color to kind of a whitish. So I'm going to quickly explain it before I continue on thumbnails. Let me read it real quick. So that people don't get confused due to the recent TC page, since Rahl was born directly from off of Apophis, that means he's a god himself. When Rahl gave half of his power to Ace, he became weaker, therefore easy to be killed by one of Ra's children, which aka was Veek. Rahl wasn't exactly born the correct way, parentheses, since he's basically just power in physical form, parentheses. So the lightening of his eyes and him disintegrating is basically his power being too sapped up to keep a physical form. Basically, his power's been spent. The remaining power that Rahl has... let me say it again. The remaining power that Rahl has goes back to Apophis, whereas the half Rahl gave to Ace still remains with Ace. But yeah, for the most part, basically, this is kind of explaining the whole entirety of them, I guess. But the main thing of TC is, like, the children of Apophis, they're actually, because they're basically born from Apophis himself, which, as you know, is a god. But for the main part, he basically is giving his powers are taking physical form. And, which means Ace is just power in physical form. But, in the main sense of it, with Ace, since he has Rawl's power, he's a little bit way more powerful than his other siblings. So no way is he gonna be able to get captured again back into a little gem cell. But besides the point, this is just me kind of cheating right now because I don't really want to do anything different. Okay. Crap, this is like the point where I need a reference. Because if you guys remember from the end of chapter 2, Ace is like, come fight me, bitch. Which he turns into Iris, but... So I'm gonna look real quick. Silhouettes kind of help a little bit. Yes, Lulu, what is it? My life. What happened in chapter 1? Oh, come on, god damn it. I love you, Lavi. I love you too. Lavi, I have a question. What happened in chapter 1? Okay. So, in chapter 1 of issue 2, to explain it a little bit, I have to go back and actually look at the chapter. Like, the chapter thing. So, in chapter 1, the main thing we get is an Iris and Infinite moment, where, Infinite has already brought Iris back to his house. And chapter 2 kind of backtracks that with, kind of backtracks. Sorry, I got distracted. Chapter 2 is basically flashback food. Besides, of course, you know, Infinite having to deal with Ace in his dream. But basically, what happens is, chapter 1, you have this little history lesson between Protea, which is Iris's grandmother, Iris, and Willow, which are like the first 8 pages, where it explains how Ace and his other siblings came to be from Apophis, what happened to Apophis, basically what happened. And then you have Iris and Infinite moments where Iris asks Infinite what happened to her planet. Him saying, you know, sorry, it's kinda gone. You're kinda alone now. And then he is kinda surprised she's not mad at him, if I remember correctly. I can actually read the pages, but if I get too involved with looking at the stuff, then we're not going to be able to get chapter 4 cover finished. But I will do my best. So, let me find... It starts on page 13. I know, Def, I saw it. Okay, so... Iris says, everything is gone, isn't it? And he says, sadly, yes. It's all my fault, isn't it? I killed them all. And then Infinite's like, I know a couple things about guilt. The one thing I learned from it is that you can't let it weigh you down forever. Hint, hint to yeah. The origin story I'm writing for him. So Iris says, and he says, you can't change what happened, so quit pretending that you may try to fix it. I'm not pretending. I can't bear to forgive myself for what I've done. And then Infinite's giving her a glass of water, saying, it's in the past. Even if you cannot forgive yourself, I forgive you. She says, thanks anyway. And this kind of exchange is a little confusing because he doesn't want her forgiveness. So basically Infinite says, although you may be safe here, this world is dangerous. Mobius isn't exactly the right place for you, but I promise to try to keep you safe. I appreciate that. Don't mention it. I know it must be very confusing. It really is. And then, how is it dangerous here, though? This world, it will tear you apart and reform you into someone else. Someone you won't recognize, which is why I'm cautioning. I don't understand this strange place, but I do hope that I'm not holding you back in any way. You're fine. This world was getting boring anyway. You can't be serious. It would be foolish of you to assume anything. I could lie and you wouldn't know the difference. After all, I did trick you back on Terria. And then, of course, Iris is a little heartbroken at that, because she's like, crap, he's right. Your silence is answer enough. You clearly trust me. How unfortunate. You put that sliver of faith in me. I'm honestly surprised you aren't cursing me out, and I was the one that helped end your little planet. Even though it'll take a while for me to forgive you, I was the one who... I don't need your pathetic attempt at even trying to say you'll eventually forgive me. It'll be wasted. How can you? Huh? How can you say that? Everyone eventually deserves forgiveness. Even you, Infinite. Even you deserve forgiveness. Let me get to the next page, because now I'm reading it. So, he's a little shocked, of course, at her being so upfront. So basically he's like, huh, and she's crying, and he says, you've made your point. Good, I'm glad. I'm going to bed now. Try to rest. Call if you need anything. Infinite, thank you for bringing me somewhere safe. And then, of course, he goes to bed. But that's kind of roughly the beginning of Chapter 1. Chapter 2, you get some Sonic Tails action, some Amy, some Shadow, some Rouge. And then, ooh, Ace. Beautiful baby Ace. Beautiful baby Ace. But, yeah. For the most part, it's basically that. So now I think what I'll start doing is the cover thumbnails. Is that Okay. His eyes... I will fix later. His body probably needs to be a little bit more over there. It looks bad right now, but you know what? We're going to fix it. This looks terrible, but you know what? It'd look better if I tried. Right now it's just a little rough. I mean, Iris is a cute cinnamon floofy roll. Of course, she didn't punch him in the gut for lying to her because she's a gullible baby girl. She is. I don't really like this one, so I'm putting an X. Down with the sickness, down with the sickness, down with the sickness. Okay. Actually, I feel like a nice one would be, I feel like a good one, since I'm going off now on chapter 2, where, like, the ending page where Ace turns from Shadow to Iris. I feel like it'd be a good thing to kind of, like, give another transformation, because eventually Ace is gonna show his quote-unquote true self, which is the little unicorn-looking demon thing. So let's see. I can make this very simplistic, then again. Oh, no wonder. I'm not using the pen. Okay. Because that one was a little bit long of yelling. I feel like the whole shape mentality of what I learned yesterday would come in handy here. A bean. I'm trying to think, because I usually draw the heads first. Then again, the heads don't matter if it's a thumbnail. Chapter 4, we're gonna have Sonic Crew come in. Of course, we have Ace. I'm trying to think it through, boys. Ooh, actually I have a good one, I think. I hope nobody ships Ace and Infinite for this one. Let's see. Right hands would be... There we go. This is just getting the rough base of the shape of the body. This way you can know which one's which. Ace needs to be in a bean suit. He can't be bean shaped. I'm sorry, but like... You see what the Sonic characters, because Ace is not really a Sonic character even though he's a Sonic OC of mine. But like, what I've learned from like Gigi's tutorial of Sonic characters is Sonic characters are bean shaped. I'm just gonna... There we go. I actually like that one. Let me see. I need to go back. Hopefully nobody ships Ace and Infinite. The internet wanna bet? Listen, man. It better not happen. It better not happen. Okay? It better not happen. 'Cause broski is not gay. Broski Ace is not gay though. He's straight bean. I mean, he's not a bean, but, you know. I wish this thing wouldn't die. Infinite is one long boy. He's actually smaller than Ace. Ace is actually bigger than Infinite. I can do a quick sketch before I do another thumbnail, but okay. Let me go to a different space. So let me do a bean shape, kinda. Gotta select transform. Okay, let me kind of roughly... Now just know this is like basically a rough thing. I'm doing a quick sketch real quick of Infinite to kind of show. Let me fix this real quick. So let me... Let me quickly show you how tall Ace is actually. So, the basic normal height of Mobians is 3 feet. Like 3'3". And Ace... I'm trying to kinda roughly show. Because with Ace, he doesn't have a bean body. But, we're going to kind of roughly do a bean right here. That's a very disproportionate bean. Thank God Ace's body is kind of this shape. So this is... I'm just quickly drawing Ace to show height difference. So with Ace, he doesn't really have cylinder legs like with Sonic cast members. This is just kind of a... Believe me when I say his shoes don't look like this. This is just a rough design. So with Ace, he would be considered kind of male human height. 'Cause he's 6'1". If I remember correctly. So he'd actually be a little taller than this, so I'm gonna kind of lengthen him. And then I'm gonna hide these. But this is how big Ace is compared to a Mobian height. Like, most of the children of Apophis are about Ace's height, which is 6'1". Rawl is like 5'9", though. But, I don't really draw Ace in his actual height much because, he's able to manipulate his height, because due to, it's mainly due to, because he's able to make his appearance different, which means he can also change his body type and height. But yeah, basically Ace is taller than Infinite. He's taller than mostly all Mobians. And if you think about it, let me lock this. I'm going to, just for giggles, I'm going to show you how tall Iris is. I'm going to kind of I'm gonna quickly sketch up what she kind of looks like. That way I can kind of manipulate her height for a sec. But for shits and giggles, I'm going to show you how tall Iris is compared to Infinite and how tall she is compared to Ace. How old is Iris? In issue 2, she is 18. This is really crappy drawing, but you know what? This is rough. So, let me transform the baby. She is not tall. But in actuality, Iris is 2.5 feet tall. Technically, you know, to you know, 2'5", but Iris is shorter than Infinite. And if we move her over to where Infinite was, she is way smaller compared to Ace. Poor baby is 2.5 feet tall. So she's way shorter than Infinite, and she's extremely shorter than Ace. She's small bean. I am 5'4.5". I can't remember if it's a quarter or not, but yeah, this is how tall Ace is. Ace is a tall bean. I'm gonna quickly upload this to Twitter to show how tall he is. I am eventually going to do a character sheet for these characters, that way you can see how tall they are compared to each other. And depending... You know what? Since this isn't really like a full thing, because art stream, and I'm like, let's draw stuff. What if we did like a let's draw? Like, you know, how to draw certain characters. I'm going to... Now this is a very cheap, cheaty way of doing this. It's terrible quality. Oh, damn it, Task Manager. Shut up. Okay, so I tell you what I'll do. What I'm going to do right now is do quick line art of this. You know, this thumbnail thing. And then what we'll do is you guys find your pencils and stuff, and I can teach you how to draw Ace. Or I could help you guys try to draw Infinite, but you know. I doubt you guys want to see me draw Infinite. You would follow those tutorials? You know, I could always do like a speed paint and kind of show how to draw them. But I feel like a live stream would kind of be better. Alright, where's my Iris folder? Because I have a ton of Infinite art in there. Whew. We'll just do a side profile, that way I get it. Use whatever pencil you need. Any utensil you can use that's erasable. Oh shoot, corrections isn't on. Let me know when you guys have your utensils and then I can open up a new thing. I need to move his snooter down a little bit. His droop snoot. Okay, is anybody else ready to draw ace? Okay, you guys are ready. Alright, let me save this real quick, and then I will open up a new thing. So the fun thing about digital and traditional is you can draw and erase pretty damn easily. Let me do a favor and like change the music to let me see, something, yeah. There we go. Okay. So you guys don't have an ace reference, but I do. So what I'm gonna do is pop ace in the corner, but what I'll also do is open up his reference sheet to show you guys kind of roughly what we're working with. This is Ace's 2019 ref. I haven't done a 2021 because I don't want to change his appearance whatsoever. Because I can't stay consistent already. So what I'm going to do is kind of lighten this a little bit to kind of show. So the thing with Ace is, I'm going to lighten it a little bit more to kind of show. So the thing with Ace is, he's not really a good silhouette, as you can tell. Like, his shirt's a little kind of ruined. But, the thing with his chest, like, I'm going off of what I remember from also, like, Gigi's tutorial stream of how to draw Sonic. The thing with Ace is, he's not a Sonic character whatsoever. So the bean silhouette doesn't really follow through at all. The thing with Ace is, he kind of has a feminine figure, somewhat. So his curves are a little V-shaped. Because, you know, with females, they kind of have the weird little indentation thing. So Baby Boy has like a hump of a chest. So the thing with Ace is, you have to figure out where his head is kind of positioned onto his body. So, without drawing his muscles, he has kind of a pointed head. It's like, it's triangular, but not triangular. He has a pointed chin. Right there. So, we're going to first figure out a thumbnail. I feel like a main good one could kind of be him being a little asshole. But for the most part, I'm gonna do a rough thing to kind of help me out here. That way we can figure out where everything goes on this bad boy. So this is basically a rough thumbnail. I mean, I have aces straight, but since he's like immortal, he could technically be bi. It's sad boy hours, mate. Bro could be bi, but he's straight. It's like it's a weird choker. It's kind of a weird choker. What I'm going to do first is use kind of a reddish. So the thing with ace is I usually draw the head first, but in order to help with kind of a bean shape, because baby boy has curves, we're gonna first start with a bean shape. And it may be easier to draw head, but the perspective is wonky if you draw the head first, apparently. So basically, you want the chest going the same direction as the head. So if the head's going this way, the chest has to be a little more to the side. If the head's facing this way, the body has to be facing this way a little bit. If the head's going in a wrong direction like that, you're basically breaking your character's neck. Is Ace shipped with anyone? Sorry, I can't read. He is. He is shaped with Hannah, which is Amanda's OC. So when you first get the bean shape, I mainly drew a line to kind of show the direction of where it's facing. So his body's kind of like facing this way. The next thing we're going to do is the head. Which, as you know, Ace has a neck. So he doesn't really have the whole Sonic shtick going on. So you want to move it a little bit up. Put it in a different layer for his neck. Because the chest area is kind of a little connected. Because his shoulders will be about here. This is kind of like a chibi Ace now that I think about it.
Today we're drawing a chibi Ace.
We're not. But the next thing we want to do is figure out where his head is going before we connect the neck. So, I wish my thing wouldn't freak out. I'm gonna pick a different color. And I'm going off of what I remember from Gigi's stream for how to draw Sonic. But you basically want to draw little circles in order to get a three-dimensional kind of look going on. Frankly, I want his face to kind of go this direction a tiny bit. So, if he had a muzzle, it'd be going that way. So let me get a different color. We're going to merge the layer for the head. And first, we're going to do... We're not going to do the full body yet. I want to show you where the eyes would technically go as well as the mouth. So we haven't drawn his horns yet. That is probably, like, I usually draw the horns after I draw the head, but
since I'm teaching you guys how to do this stuff, we're gonna do that later on. Because if we did that right now, it'd be too much of information.
So, once you have your guidelines, as they're called, Ace, as you notice, doesn't have a nose. Our pal does not have a nose. His eyes are a little close together. So, with eyes, his eyes are a little bit feminine. Bit kinda girly. I need to do a better eyelash. But his eyes are a little feminine. And since you're facing a certain direction, you want the eyes kind of facing a similar direction. You're gonna have this, but the iris inside it has to be pointed a certain way of where the head's turned. Can I just say I love the face on the thumbnail sketch? I do too. So you guys don't have transform, but sorry. His eyes are somewhat at an angle. And are a little bit bigger. Our boy has big eyes. Big eyes save lives. So the next one is going to be a little harder because you're basically drawing the other eye. So the whole thing with perspective is, yeah, the eyes you want to have the same size relatively, but basically when it comes to a face or even a body, one hand is closer in perspective, whereas the other one's smaller if it's behind a little bit of the character. That is why I say Ace is trans. Everything about Ace screams female, but he is male. Ace is female to male trans, and nobody can tell me otherwise. I mean, I'm the creator, so I can kind of tell you otherwise. He got a dick. Boy has an actual one. So with his eyelashes, they're a little bit, not, I would say, off. But they're a little bit different. It's like a widow's peak, but not a widow's peak. So the eyes are a little bit off-centered, as you can notice. We're gonna merge that layer and move it over a tiny bit. And this part right here that's hanging off of the skull is gonna be got to where it's kind of like that, but you want to have the part where the skull is right here, as you notice with the red lines. Let me lock it. The red lines right here. You want to shave it off slightly to where it meets the skull, because eyes do not hang off of the face. A face does not do this, where the eyes are literally hanging off of the face. You do not want this. You do not want this. You don't want that. Just no. So when it comes to this, you wanna shorten the eye if it's facing a certain direction. Frankly, since I have a digital pen and an eraser, it's easier to erase, but you do want to have a little bit of the point of the eyelash showing, because it's not going to be completely gone.
The good news is we can merge this layer. The head needs to go down there, goddammit.
What is the song playing right now? It's Crush by Tessa Violet. Okay, the next part is pretty easy. Because now, we're not gonna draw the eyes yet. We're gonna draw his quote-unquote eyelids, which are technically his eye makeup area. The one where I'm like,
If there was ever a man, no man wearing eyeshadow before has scared me.
you don't have to do these little details of shading them in. I just want to be
Intense.
I need to save this real quick so I don't lose any. I mean, this is showing how to draw Ace, but you know. Now the next thing should be relatively easy. The next part should be relatively easy because we're doing the eyes now. So the thumbnail, as you notice, is not really following along with what we have right now because this is like a different, I'm weird to where I don't really follow a thumbnail very much. But we're gonna do what we do best. Try. So the next thing we're going to do are the eyes. The eyes are pointed in a certain direction on the thumbnail, but since he's facing this way, his eyes should be in a general direction. I mean, you could also have him staring at you, but I feel like that'd be a little weird. He's kind of giving you the bedroom eyes right there. The one before it was Clarity by Zed and Foxes. But yeah, since his body is facing this general direction, you kind of want him facing as well as looking in the general direction. Or relatively somewhat close to it. With Ace, he has kind of like a point to the edge of his eye. Of his iris. But yeah, you want his eyes facing a certain way. And the thing with Ace is, his eyes, as you notice, since they're kind of pointed on the bottom, his pupils are also kind of pointed. But I'm not going to draw the same exact thing that's showing there. But his pupils have some kind of sharp point. But as you notice, he's looking in a general direction, because the body's facing this way, so his eyes should be kind of facing this way. So I'm gonna merge the layer now. That way we have the eyes on the same layer. So the next thing we're going to do is pretty simple. We're gonna do the eyebrows. Now his eyebrows are generally easy. You want to do a slight arc, depending on the expression you want to go with. With here, he's kind of not angry. He could be sad, but when I draw Ace, usually, this is gonna be a rough sketch with a bigger brush. But generally with Ace, when it comes to his eyes, you have his eye, right? Generally, when it comes to his expression, I usually go from the end, and if he's sad, the part of the eye makeup goes bent at an angle. It can also go for this, well, that's an angry expression now that I look at it, or a confused one. But the sad one is mainly like that. But like the eyebrow is kind of like the second indication of what he's expressing. So it could be sad. He could be angry. He could be pensive. So when, like, his not eyelashes, but eyeshadow changes to a certain form of curve is when you can kind of tell what thing he's expressing. So with him, he has somewhat a relatively neutral face, so his eyebrows won't be doing any of the wonky stuff like this. Instead, he'll have slightly curved eyebrows. Because he's not really angry, he's not upset. He's just showing a general expression. Now with this tutorial, I'm not going to outline it. It's just going to be a rough sketch. So if you guys want to color it, you can. But,
Here we go. With the main thing.
yeah, Ace is extremely hard to draw. I kind of made him complex.
Which I apologize for. I didn't mean for him to be so hard to draw.
So when it comes to Ace's mouths are pretty easy to draw. Some people could disagree, but with Ace with this expression, we're gonna have his lips, his mouth, partially open. And the thing with him is, he's kind of like the memes where there's no nose, but the eyes are up with the mouth. He's like that meme, but without a nose. If he had a nose, it'd be like... Let me get a better thing. His nose would be like that. Or that. And just... It doesn't fit him. So since we got the mouth done and the face, the next thing we're going to do roughly is connecting the head to the body. Why did you choose Ace then to draw? He's very complex to draw, but he's also extremely fun to do. Because once you nail down his design as well as how to draw him, it's pretty easy. I mean, I could have drawn Iris, but pretty much anyone can draw Iris. If you guys want me to change it mid-thing of drawing Ace, I can maybe try and teach you guys how to draw Infinite if you want. But this is kind of roughly what we're working with. So the next thing with Ace is you gotta connect this to this. So the thing with Ace is his neck is relatively kind of curved. Well, not relatively curved, but you know, the body needs to be a tad closer right now. But as you can see, there's a little thing in the way of telling how long his neck is. So the thing with Ace is, I don't usually draw the neck first. I usually draw kind of the line of where his little choker thing goes. That way you can figure out how exactly, how big, how much the thing's wrapping around his body. Well, not body, but neck. But the thing with Ace is, his little charm thing on the neck is pretty just much like a childhood, you know, thing that anyone could pretty much draw, because I can't draw suns very well. Oh, yuck. But the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go above the layer in order to start where the shape of his head / chin will go, because we're not going to be able to draw the neck if we don't know where the chin is exactly. So since he's facing this way, I'm going to move the arrow a little bit different. We're going to go along the line of what we had before, kind of following where the eyelash is, while making it a little curved, and then giving a point at the edge of his chin. Granted, this chin is terrible, so let me. So since his head is not relatively huge, okay, no wonder it's supposed to go up there. So right now you have the chin. The next fun business is connecting, because I'm kind of going all over the place, but I'm trying to avoid the horns as much as possible. Because the horns are a little bit harder to draw. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to now connect his neck to the bracelet thing around his neck. Granted, this style is a little bit different than what I usually draw because I'm not usually drawing on my computer. But, basically, to kind of show where the neck goes, this is where kind of the edge of where the necklace is. So you have a big head and a small neck. The next thing we're gonna do is we're going to start drawing the horns. And the thing I'm going to do right now, which you should never do, is combine your guidelines with your line art sketch thing. But since I'm not doing official line art or anything with this thing, we gonna just roll with it. So what we're going to do now is make a curve, because he's kind of wearing a tank top thing. The lines kind of follow the curve of his chest and connect up to where the necklace is at. And the thing with his little tank top thing is, it's kind of short, so you can kind of see his belly a little bit. But for the most part, this is basically like the rough thing of what you get. And this right here is basically the exposed part of his stomach a little bit. Granted, you know, right here kinda should be the crotch area, but he's not a Mobian. So the thing with Ace is we're not gonna do the arms yet. We're gonna start kind of the two main horns he has. So his horns are kind of weird. We're not gonna draw a hair yet, but let me zoom in a little bit. As you can see on the ref to the right up here, you can notice that his horns kind of start a little above his eyebrows. They kind of curve back like bowls somewhat, and then it comes back a little. And you basically repeat that slightly a little bit more in towards the center of his face right here. Like the space from where his eyes aren't meeting up to here and a little to the right is where you start the next horn. And then you basically curve down slightly to connect it right to where this eyebrow would stop if it went across like that. The next thing that's pretty easy, although, you know, unicorn horns are kind of hard to draw, you want to start I'm like checking to see if another bug is like, I'm squinting. I don't think it's anything. Yeah, I didn't think it's anything. But, the next thing that's kind of hard is to draw the unicorn horn. So basically, we start at the base near where this is at. Because you have his hair kind of coming this way and that way. So his horn wants to be moved up a little bit. And we start from the outside, where we curve it, kind of like starting of like a half oval. It's pointing towards the back of his head. And then you just want to follow slightly the curve of the outside line, but it's going in the same direction. And then you connect it. Granted, his horn's a little bent right now, but you know what? We're working with it. We're working with it. So the next thing we want to do is get the hair. Because no way are we gonna get the back horn, which is supposed to be like right here, drawn in out of thin air. You want to, like, I think they call them tangent lines, but for the most part, the hair kind of is supposed to help you generally where to start the horn that is in the far back of his head. Because his head is like this. This is his sad profile. But the back horn is kind of going like that. In the back of his head. Which, you know, his hair kind of covers it a little bit. But for the most part, the horn comes and curves back. So his other horns are facing there. It's basically like that. But the thing you need right now is like the hair. So what we're going to start, because I'm not going to do the weird lines he has, where like horn, weird sort of triangle top. We're gonna start with the hair. So you want to go like with an inch of this horn to start getting the hair. Now his hair relatively kind of comes down to where his eye is at. It also kind of hangs off but follows the length of his skull with a space. You curve a little towards the beginning of this horn, but then you come back up. Similar to the point of the unicorn horn, as we call it. And then you sweep back. Thankfully, since I am doing digital, I can erase this spot right here. But the next thing we're going to do is do the back horn, which is going from this point, curve a little, to down. And this is relatively kind of the beginning shape of his head, because the 6 horns, which the 3 horns on each side of his face, right here and right here, are mainly connected to the sides of his face. So the main thing you want to worry about is where the shoulders are going to go, because he has 2 horns on his shoulders as well. So we're going to begin slightly the rest of the body, or at least where the top of this thing right here meets the base of his pants, which are kind of cut right there. And since his body is a little curved, as you notice, you want to follow the curve slightly to where it kind of follows. His belly would be right there, and the pants basically loop around his hips. As for the rest of his body, it's pretty easy. You want to go slightly halfway down to where you get the crotch area, basically. And then you start from one side of the pant, go down a little bit. Not too much, because if you go too long, he looks like a stick with baggy pants. So you basically want to get the leg slightly slim, but then you want to connect it a little past where the crotch line starts. And the good thing about once you get one of the legs done is you can follow within the crotch area to slightly out, to where you can go up and connect it to the other side. And with his pants, as you notice, he has little kind of cuff things going on, to where they're right here. It basically wraps around the start of the bottom of the pant. And with his pants, it's basically a 5-year-old kind of drawing of a sun. Because baby boy is a little obsessed with suns. But it's kind of like a sunflower, but with very scraggly petals. The next thing we're going to do, because I'm delaying the arms and hands as much as I can, even though I love drawing his hands, are his shoes. So as we notice, his body's facing to the left. We're going to start from the bottom of the fold of his pant, curve at an angle, curve slightly at the end, come back slightly, and then curve up. It's like he has huge clown shoes. And you want to basically follow the same step with the other shoe. The good thing with this is you can basically curve from the middle to outwards to where it looks like his shoe's facing a different angle.